What's happening, everyone? Just giving an update. It's been a little while. Been mainly working actually on the standard gauge stuff. Usually I've been doing narrow gauge. I have done some narrow gauge, but mainly standard gauge. And this is one of the scenes that I just had an idea of how I was going to do it. Didn't really know how I was going to go about it. But I think it came out pretty well. I'm happy with the placement, the look, everything else. This is a Walthers. It's just their modern office building. Or the only problem with this one is that it actually sits elevated. If you can see in the corner, it's higher. It's meant to have a higher front and a sloping down because it's got truck loading ramps on the rear. So that posed a problem in building it and putting it in this corner. So what I ended up doing was building up the upper or the front portion here. I just used 1/4 inch MDF. I think there's 2 pieces and then an 1/8 inch piece of plywood in between, and it brought it up to the perfect height. So the top piece, that's all MDF, 1/4 inch, and I just painted it and then drew in the expansion joints with a lead pencil. The parking lot area is also MDF. I used acrylic for the sidewalks. It's just a 1/8 inch acrylic that I got at Home Depot, and then that was cut using my laser cutter, and then it was scribed, everything with that. The parking lot, all the lines there, I actually painted those, and what I've done is made a template, and this is actually clear acrylic, and I just lay it down, place some more tape along the sides, and then you just shoot straight down. It's actually really quick, much better than trying to mask all these lines off, because I've done that in the past. It comes out terrible. It takes too long, waste a lot of tape. And then using like the paper products, I've done that. They don't last, they peel up. So painting is the best option. Give you a close-up look here of the It is, you can see on the side, it is illuminated, so the side there is illuminated, and there's actually lights on the side. If I can get the camera in there. I may end up doing interior lights. I just haven't done that yet, because I was more concerned about getting everything else placed in here. And then over here, I added some trees in this area to try and give it a little more finished look. The other thing that I built is this gas station, and this is all scratch built. It's actually all built out of 1/8 inch acrylic, so I used a laser cutter and cut all my own parts. I found the plans online. It was actually for, I think it's Petaluma. They had a plan submitted to the city that I found online that gave all the dimensions, so I was able to get a rough idea of all the dimensions there, and then just ended up drawing those up in my software and then cutting them all with the laser cutter. All the gas pumps, those are, I 3D printed those. I found some file online and just modified them to work. The hoses are just some string that I have. The trash cans, I also 3D printed as well. And I actually 3D printed the signs because I had no idea or no way of making those. And it's kind of a huge part of the whole building. So I also did it with the Valero as well. And then this is just all painted. I just masked that off and painted it. And it is, you can see it is illuminated under all the lights there. These are all acrylic, the islands. It's not glued in, because I'm just going to leave it loose. That way if it gets bumped, it kind of can shift around. And then I actually did an interior on this one as well. It's pretty basic interior, but it just gives a good look. And then on the roof, this is also 3D. I 3D printed that along with the ducting. I actually got those from Luke Towen. I think that's how you say it. He does all the YouTube videos. He makes all those files available to download for free. So I took advantage of that and printed those. And then my propane, this is actually 3D printed as well. Same thing, I just found a file online, printed it up, and then I printed these propane canisters as well. And then these are just all brass rods that I drilled in and then glued into place. And then over here, I just changed out these telephone poles. I had these on the other layout. I had the Walthers ones in there, and I didn't like the way they were looking, so I changed those out. And then that pretty much is it on the standard gauge. On the narrow gauge end, I've been starting to work on this scene. This is the Cumbres Pass. So I've got these trees that were given to me for free because they were kind of messed up. All the flocking was falling off. So what I've been doing is adding a little more flocking and then putting static grass on them. And I think it looks pretty good, especially for a free tree. And then I also did the roadway scene here. So this is all acrylic, 1/8 inch, and then I laser cut it all. It took forever to get the curves and everything right. It's not glued down, so it's not aligned right now. I'm going to do that in a little bit. And then all the lines are painted. And I actually made a jig for that. Works out pretty well. So here's the jig. It's again just laser cut acrylic. And you just lay it on top, mask around it, and then just spray directly down. And then it gives you your lines. And then you can actually come up and either use lacquer or acetone, clean it back off. That way you can see where you're putting it, because that's huge. Usually I have misalignment problems, and it's hard to get it to go where you want it when you can't see through. Other than that, all this has pretty much remained the same. Just did that tree there. I just had nowhere else to put it, so I just stuck it there. But I took some of the propane tanks and then just placed them around the layout. So I printed off, I think, about 10 of them. So you can kind of see them everywhere. Added some in this scene as well. So, I mean, the more details you throw in there, the better. It really helps sell the scene. And then just other narrow gauge up here. Nothing else has changed. Haven't really built anything. I think I'm to the point where I'm going to start it on the scenery. And then the Cumbres Pass is where I'm going to start with the scenery. And then just kind of either move to the Chama scene or just kind of work my way around, start filling all this in. Just had the bug to start working on train stuff, so that's pretty much what I've been doing. But really like this. I was going to buy the Walthers or the Summit Customs, but with those you kind of you can, when you look at people's layouts, you can just pick them out like, oh, Summit, Walthers, Summit. That one I scratch built, so you can't pick that one out. But and then that's a Walther. So you get too many of those buildings and it starts standing out like, oh, it's a kit and no big deal. And this is one that I scratch built probably 2-3 years ago. And this one's actually styrene, and I actually used a Cricut to cut out, and that was a pain. And that's what kind of led me down the path to getting a laser cutter. But I've shown this on my other videos, but it's got a full interior, all lit. So Any questions, anything like that, just go ahead and leave them down below. Thanks.